Oh, what's going on, people? We're talking about some sits and some starts, and we're talking about week 5, and it's just crazy times right now in the NFL. And we're going to have a good time doing it right before kickoff, so let's get it going.
Sounds like football, baby.
What up, guys? Welcome into the Thursday night pre-gaming. Week 5 starts and sits. I'm your host, Kyle, the Fantasy Football Smackdown, little collaboration special once again with my buddy Bob, the three-toed warrior from Word in the Streets. You can follow me on Twitter at KyleFFFellas. You can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob's3toed. Bob, this is a big week, a lot up in the air. I'm sure we're going to discuss a lot of start sits, but why don't you take the people around the room to all of our guests this week?
Absolutely. We'll just go around in the circle up here on top. Start with old I-80 Sports, the other Bob. Why don't you give it to us?
Thanks a lot, guys. Bob from at I-80 Sports. It's a name disease. Yes. It's a real thing. Okay.
That already.
Find me at I80sports.com. You can find me at youtube.com/I80 Sports.
Awesome. G?
Mate, G from the Aussie guys. I don't know where you find us because that's not my job. That's my partner's Adrian to give all. But I think if you put in Aussie guys NFL, we'll pop up somewhere.
It sure will.
Mate, yeah, pleased to be here with everybody. What a crew. It's like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, it is.
Detroit Beastie.
Yeah, I'm Chris Robin, a.k.a. at Detroit Beastie. My handle's sitting down there somewhere. Go to my page, DFS, Bottom of the Barrel is out now. Pinned to my profile. Go check it out. Glad to be here tonight, guys.
Yep. So one of the things I love about this group is that if you go and listen to the podcast, you listen to their stuff, check out their stuff on Twitter. There's always good information from each of these guys, and it's kind of different little arenas, which is very helpful, and different perspectives, which is pretty cool. So, and they always bring it here on the show. So I love it. All former guests don't need a lot of introduction because y'all been here. We got some news though. Kyle, you want to break it off with the news since you just got done typing and sending it to all the league mates? Oh
man. So you guys listen, if you guys are watching live right now, stuff's changing every minute. This news alert just came out just before Thursday night kickoff. If you're listening on the podcast on the rear on Friday, hell, stuff could have changed already. But as of right now, obviously we have the Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions on bye this week. We already knew that. Right now, what we're dealing with is the potential of the Bills-Titans game being moved to potentially Tuesday night. But that's all dependent on if there's any more positive tests for the Titans. So got to keep an eye on that and play the game again of knowing, who to start, what to risk. Obviously, a lot of big names there that we'd like to get in our lineups. And then a little side note here, it's looking like New England and Denver has been moved to Monday, the early Monday night game. So just, as always, pay attention to who's playing. If you have tough lineup decisions, this guy or this guy, like you always have to pay attention to when they're starting or potentially the risk of the guys not playing at all. So, I mean, I'm updating all my leagues. We've talked about this last week. I mean, how's everybody else dealing with the craziness?
I'm actually excited for the first time to be owning players who play on Thursday night. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I got 2 guys. Let's roll. We're going. It's just that you got to manage your flex super, super cautiously. Remember, it's Thursday, Sunday, 1:00. You got to move those guys from your flex into your wide receiver, running back positions, and just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, definitely stay on top of it. Darren Gray says, "Cheers, fellas," and
another Bob.
Yeah, Bob,
that's me, by the way. That is me, by the way.
You?
Yeah.
Man, that's a studly photo right there.
All right.
I do what I can.
Cool. Number 1, Bob. All right.
Mate, how often can you keep kicking the can down the road on teams like the Titans until it gets to a point where it becomes unmanageable?
Well, they've already done it once, so it's now unmanageable.
And it could be twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually this is what we did here in Australia with our AFL is everybody, like basketball, everybody went into, well, they all moved to a state where there's no COVID for starters, the states. And then they all stayed in bubbles, which you're not doing over there, are you? Everybody's going home and living life and just hoping that your family doesn't go out and catch it and bring it home and give it to somebody. So if more teams get it, just kicking the can doesn't work in the end, does it?
I think what you have to do is just come down hard on these teams that aren't following protocol. It's one thing to get, your kids in school, your kid comes home sick, you get sick, you infect a couple teammates. But with the Titans in this case, they were working out at a private location at like a high school field, and they were all together breaking protocol. Just take the loss. Take the loss and move on with the rest of the season. Quarantine another 10 days and take it from there. That's where I'm at. I mean, I have no patience for this.
And we've seen with New England, obviously they have 2 tests now, but it was Cam and it was, then nobody else tested positive until Gilmore earlier this week. Atlanta had a positive test with a defensive back. It was the only
That's the only thing positive in Atlanta.
There it is. There it is.
Hey,
he dunked that home.
My Braves are in Atlanta, man. Let's go.
Oh, there we go. We got that. Yeah, not a good time to be a Falcons fan for G. But I mean, we've seen these like more isolated ones too. So I mean, is that more the situation where it's something that's out of the control versus the Tennessee situation where it seems to be like obviously something broke down along those lines. But I mean, there's the possibility everything's been thrown around like that the NFL has built in some flexibility where they could do a week 18, which does nothing for us, obviously, as fantasy owners, unless they decide to pause for a week and shift the entire season. But like if they have like 2 or 3 teams that need to play in week 18, we just miss out on those players, right? So it's definitely difficult. And especially too, like when we're looking at these, even if it's just the Titans, even right now, Derrick Henry now, maybe 2 weeks, what happens, when you don't have him in your lineup for 2 key weeks? This fantasy season is only 13 weeks long to get into the playoffs. It's difficult. So, and AJ Brown, I mean, we've already been missing him for pretty much the whole season. So it's frustrating, but as commissioners out there, like we talked about last week, like you just got to keep everybody updated, stay true to whatever you decided. Like I mentioned this on the Tuesday show for the SmackDown, like guys, don't waver one way or the other just because someone complains this week. Everything was, the rules were in place. Stick with what you did. And at the end of the day, you can always fall back to that. Because as long as you're being consistent, no one should really be able to, complain about it in reality. I mean, it just is what it is at this point. It's tough.
You're always going to have a bitch in your league somewhere.
Oh, well, that's true. And I'll be honest, like I've made the mistake a time of being just weak, as a commissioner, like looking back on it, like definitely shouldn't have caved. It wasn't like a major thing, but like it was this dumb decision. Like it was one person complaining. I changed something that I didn't think that was that big a deal. And it was, I won't make that mistake again type of thing. Right.
So your wife plays in the league with you?
No.
Oh,
illusion. So before we get into the starts, since we are talking about commissioner talk there, I know where I sit in my leagues. There's the whole conversation about, do you let someone give substitute players that if your guys don't play, or there's the hard nope, just weather the storm. Just go around the room. We'll start down in Detroit BC and work backwards here. Detroit, who commissions leagues? Start there. Everybody but G. All right, fine.
G's the smartest man in the room.
That's why he's on here. All right, Detroit BC. Where do you sit on the substitute players versus just roll with what you got and figure it out?
Here's the thing, if I may, briefly. The only league I commission is a league that's been up and running for like 15 plus years. All guys I've known since I was a child. Good friends since we were kids. Grew up together since the age of 6, and I'm now in my mid 30s. So we're talking 30 plus years of friendship. So that league is super easy. It kind of runs itself. We're able to just call each other, text each other, call each other names, and it's fine. It's been $20 for a season for 30 years, so it's no big deal. But in other leagues, some of these other leagues that I'm in that are more serious, right? Keeper leagues, dynasty leagues, I'm of the firm belief that it should have been talked about and voted on before the season even started, because leading up to the NFL season, this was a full-blown problem. Baseball was shut down, hockey was shut down. So by the time football came around, it was like, well, there's an obvious problem here. We need to do something about that. So to say in season, 4 or 5 weeks in, you can just substitute guys in and out. Listen, I'm easygoing. I don't care one way or another, right? So I know that kind of defeats the purpose of your question. But
it did. I thought you were running for office there for a second.
but I firmly believe that it should have been voted on beforehand. So if I had to take a stance right now, I would not be in favor of letting someone just plug in and, replacement players, as you put it. Kind of, you'd have to weather the storm.
So you told your league no, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because we had voted upon it before the season even started. So that's why I started this presser, saying what my home league was.
Bob.
All right, so the kind of thing that we did at the beginning of the year for ours, we opened up IR from 1 spot to 4 spots, and this is the crucial thing that a lot of people are missing. I allowed any player who is labeled out or on COVID or on IR to be put in any of those IR spots. And that I'm in a couple leagues. One of the leagues I'm with like professionals, and they opened up a COVID like 4 spots, but players who are designated COVID can't be moved to those IR spots. So what the hell are we doing anyway? It just makes no sense. So I'm allowing a little bit of leeway with that. Opening waivers on Sunday morning to everyone. I feel like that's really helping people get in the lineup, and then just draft deep and get after it.
Okay. So no substitute players.
No.
And then Kyle and I share leagues, and we both are like, no, figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Everybody knows in advance. We're keeping them up to date. Constantly on what their scenarios are. So, I mean, like I said, I'm in leagues that go either way. I've done things, and if I like, I'm kind of with Chris. Like, I don't necessarily care either way, but once it's set, it's set. You can't change it. Like, if you didn't let a guy make subs now, right? What happens 3 weeks from now when those you change it, right? It affects every decision you make affects something. So
and to me, even beyond that, being a nice commish, whatever, this is going to be hopefully the most interesting year we have in our lives in fantasy football. And why not just embrace the full brunt of it? It might be nasty for your team. It might be beautiful. Whatever. I don't know what it's going to be. It's like a marriage, we don't know what it's going to be, but we're in it for the whole season. And let's just take this ride and go for it, man. I mean, you could draft David Johnson 101 and you could break his hand in week 1. You don't know what's going to happen. So whatever.
I liked your comparison to marriage. What did you say in the group chat we were in, Bob?
I don't remember. All these, you go for it. You're in for the whole season. You're in for, life, whatever, usually you lose your arguments, in other words, your weeks, but every once in a while you get lucky.
Marriage is for life.
That's right.
It is here, G. I don't know.
All right. So I think that's enough COVID talk. Show. Let's get into the sit starts, and I'm gonna go with Kyle.
I gotta start sit question that came in on Twitter from our buddy. So I'll just launch with that. Obviously, if you guys are watching live right now, you guys can drop any start sit questions in the chat. But this one's from my buddy ZBag72. He dropped this in here. He wants to know, just kind of, does anybody have any worries about?
Sorry, is that Z-bag or T-bag?
Z bag.
Okay.
Z bag. There you go.
Okay.
Not D-bag either, douchebag either. So
he wants to know, is anybody worried about Scary Terry this week? They're going up the Reds or the Washington football team. Woo, almost had to put $1 in the jar. Washington is going up against the Rams. So Jalen Ramsey on the other side of the ball. But anybody's thoughts on Scary Terry this weekend?
I have some hesitation. Who's throwing him the ball this year? this week?
That's true. They made the quarterback change to Kyle Allen. So
made a quarterback change to Kyle Allen. And we don't know what their history is. Obviously, they didn't go to college together, so that's a negative. But with Ron Rivera, it's like, I don't know, man. I do have hesitation if he's going to see Ramsey. That alone is enough to scare me away.
Ramsey is. I mean, not Robbie Anderson. DJ Moore. There's that name. DJ Moore. Yep. DJ Moore got a lot of work from Kyle Allen. So that's at least a positive sign. But yeah, going against.
But Haskins also worked together with them for 5 years now.
Yeah, had a track record for sure. I think that I'm more worried about the quarterback situation. Like Bob mentioned, is like you have that uncertainty and going into the week. I mean, nobody wants Kyle Allen under center on any NFL team, but I mean, look at some of the names that are starting at quarterback in week 5 in the NFL. Joe Flacco, Kyle Allen, potentially Jared Stidham, something named Brett Rippon or whatever the hell. I mean, look, come on, guys. So for me, I am worried more about that. We saw last week, McLaurin had what you guys would think to be a very tough matchup against the the Ravens and lit it up. I mean, McLaurin's just a guy I just never take out of my lineup.
Would you guys start Mike Evans or McLaurin?
I'd start McLaurin.
I'm gonna go Terry.
Okay.
All right, Drew's going Mike Evans. So
Mike Evans got injured last week, and mate, he was taken where he takes one step, he was taken like 4 and still burnt.
yeah,
So no,
I hear you.
All right.
I'm
Start both.
rolling with
I'm
that.
just trying to throw a couple names out there, but it sounds like he's in a pretty startable spot if, we're questioning that. But Herbert or Cousins, Mr. Darren Gray asks.
Oh, it's Cousins. Or excuse me, I can't believe I almost said Kirk Cousins. It's Justin Herbert, and it's not close.
Emphatically, too.
I think my problem was to go on this spiel about how awful Kirk Cousins has been, and I want nothing to do with him. So it's Herbert. The news just came out today. He's their full-time starting quarterback, and the kid is the real deal.
I'm thinking Cousins this week against Seahawks, Seattle.
He's going to have to keep pace.
That's the way I'm leaning too, man.
I'm going to
Here's
hold
the
my
tough
nose
part.
on that one.
Here's the tough part with the Vikings. They can be losing by 2 or 3 scores and not care and not air it out. So they're going to be losing by 2 or 3 scores and might not care and might not air it out. That's the stupid part. So
Cousins only has 20. He doesn't have more than 27 pass attempts in a game. They've been chasing plenty this season. So you need that set. You need to hit on that second touchdown and third touchdown. I'd give him the edge, but I actually got a similar question about Herbert before the show on Twitter. And dude, this dude's matchups after this week, which isn't a bad matchup against the Saints. I'm not like running away from it if he's been your starter, but he gets the Jets, the Dolphins, the Jags, and the Raiders before a bye week. Like, whew, light him up, man. Herbert is going to be in your lineup most weeks, probably going forward if he was already there for sure.
awesome. Kyle, why don't you go ahead and give us that first start of the week?
Where am I at here? Start. Who would have guessed you to go to me first? We've done it every week, and I'm still not prepared.
Well, you're right next to
I
me
got it.
on the screen.
I
So I
got
like to
it.
go in
Right
order
here.
to keep me in
Right
line.
here.
I need every step I can get.
I'm doing this one for a special guest of the show. One of my starts this week is Matt Ryan, baby, of the Atlanta Falcons. Let's go. All right, here's the reason why Matt Ryan's a start for me this week. First off, he's coming off 2 bad games, so people are probably starting to get pissed because he lit it up the first 2 weeks and then struggled in matchups that you wouldn't have expected him to. But this week he gets the Carolina Panthers. And when you're setting your lineup, Carolina, that little CAR is red right now because Carolina is actually giving up the 3rd fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks this season so far. But I'm not buying that. When your quarterbacks include Derek Carr and in his real first start, Herbert, they haven't faced murderer's row by any means. So I think Ryan is gonna bounce back here. If he has Julio, obviously, then it makes it even better. But Matt Ryan's my QB7 this week. He has 36 pass attempts in every single game or more. And he had 300 yards against Carolina in both games last season. They're at home. They're back in the dome. I'm going with Matty Ice with confidence. Again, he's my QB7, so I'm not starting.
Are
any
his boys
streamers
healed up?
this week.
Are
Mate,
his boys healed up?
Don't care. Don't care.
Don't
They've
care.
got Zacchaeus, whatever the hell that guy's
Is
name
it only 36 pass attempts plus a game? I thought it'd be 46, 56. With the defense they've got, why even run the ball?
That's Dallas.
Exactly. They still have that same defense. So I'm lighting up Matty Ice. I'm not starting like Teddy or Cousins or Daniel Jones. I mean, some of these guys have some nice matchups, but I'm gonna continue.
Was CeeDee Lamb available at our pick this year in the draft?
Yeah, I think he was.
Oh, he might have been. So yeah.
You guys
Might
took
have been
some corner who got COVID.
All right.
This is the problem with young guys, mate. They're horny. They have to get out. This is what scares me about COVID.
Is that how you catch COVID?
Oh,
Jesus.
Is that what really happened to Darnold? They're just hiding it.
yeah.
Oh, he's gonna get mono again.
Yeah.
Well, he got COVID instead. He just had the wrong girl.
That's why. Yeah, never mind.
I-80 over to you.
Okay, gonna go with a rookie. I was very high on the rookies this season just because of just talent and great circumstance. And this rookie landed in the best possible spot, replacing Stephon Diggs on the Minnesota Vikings. That, of course, Justin Jefferson. He's playing Seattle Seahawks. I rest my case. I actually have more notes than that. Seattle Seahawks are 32nd out of 32 against wide receivers so far this year. They're going to be missing Jamal Adams, safety, who's going to be out again this week. Justin Jefferson's 2 weeks ago kind of had his coming out party, 7 of 9 catches for 175 and 1 touchdown. Last week, we were kind of a little more hesitant. Hey, he had his breakout. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. But he had a good game, 4 of 5 for 103. For me, it's his guy in a great spot. I think he is that opposite Thielen receiver, and I'm going to be all over against Seattle Seahawks, who I think they're better than they've shown on defense, but it's not going to change this week. It's going to be, Kirk Cousins lighting it up.
Dude.
Are they really better on defense, mate? They're giving up like almost 10 yards a target.
Yeah, I think
incredible.
I think it's going to change. I think it's going to change. I do.
You gotta put that comment on the screen here, but
Oh, you can see it too, Kyle. Okay.
yeah, I can see it.
Sorry. So I usually have my comments closed so it lights up for those not paying attention. But Ace307 on YouTube says, "Test it before you hit it." COVID joke. That was for Mr. Sam Darnold. I will throw in two more before we move on to the next. Mike Jernigan, good friend of the show, says, if you were in a fantasy animal league, would you start the dingo or the boom or just bust koala bear? Curious.
The boomer
to
bust.
hear-
Koala bear.
Boomer
Okay.
bust. Oh, boomer bust.
Curious to hear G's take on this one.
Gee,
Would you start a dingo or koala, mate? No. Start the dingo.
Okay,
Mate,
there we go. That's
mate.
all you're getting, Mike.
You
Mate,
start the koala,
koala bear has never taken a baby.
but it's positional scarcity on the koala bear.
Well done.
Endangered species.
I'll
All right.
note this real quick. I was ticked that Chris got to the doc before me, that Bob too was in the doc before me and took Jefferson. I love him this week.
Yeah,
I'm
I got him. I
ready
had
to
him on
go.
my list too, mate. Yeah.
That's
Right,
awesome, man.
well.
I think that's a great call. So get him in your lineup, people. He's
Mate, he's
top 30
everything.
for sure.
Yeah.
So before we move on to Darren Gray's question, I'm gonna leave it on the screen.
Oh no. G's got some notes on this.
But before we go there though, since Detroit Beastie does not like Cousins and you guys like Jefferson, I like Thielen. I think most people in general think Thielen should have a good week. Are we thinking that Cousins does have a good week here? I know Beastie says no, but what about you two, since you kind of both like the wide receivers? Or can it be totally independent of each other?
No, I like it for the fact that now that he actually realizes he has two wide receivers playing in Minnesota and not just Adam Thielen. Like he became a one read quarterback
And no tight
and
end.
and now that we have Justin Jefferson, mate, and look to go along with that in regards to Seattle, they've given already 65 plus yards to 10 receivers that they've played against already. So and with Justin Jefferson, he's averaging 8 yards after catch, which is incredible.
Nice.
According to Next Gen Stats. So I should put that
Oh,
in
boy.
there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cite your sources.
Don't get us in trouble, man. I can't afford
Yeah.
that. Can't afford another lawsuit. All right, let's answer Darren Gray's question real quick. Hollywood or Tate full PPR? Tate?
Oh.
Anybody have confidence in Hollywood yet?
I have Hollywood as a sit this week, only from the standpoint of like where he's ranked right now in consensus. I think he's getting a little bit too much love, but Tate, man, he has not done a damn thing. I don't care what the matchup is. He's getting 4 to 5 targets and getting 20 yards with it. Hollywood could do that in one shot. I mean, it only takes one pass. So, I got to still start Hollywood. I know the matchup for Tate is glorious, but I have him on so many teams holding out for this home stretch here where the Giants got past some tougher matchups, and I have no confidence to start Golden Tate this week.
Can I add something on Golden Tate from the Giants fans over here? This is the week you picked up Golden Tate for. The matchup does not get better than this. If you don't start Golden Tate this week, he should not be rostered because this is the only reason you got him. I do like Golden Tate this week, but I also like players who show me literally anything before I start them. So I'm not feeling on Golden Tate.
That's a great call on burning a roster spot if you can't play a guy in a perfect matchup.
Right. Steve Wasco, those koala bears are sneaky scary. I like the koala bear. And then he asks a real question. He says, Darius Slayton's correct answer. We're not going to go too deep into that one. You are, I'm sure, correct, Mr. Steven. Well, I think that's on somebody's list for sit and start. So we'll hit that there. So stay tuned. Aha.
And koala bears aren't that scary. The reason they eat eucalyptus leaves in the docile is because it's like marijuana to them.
Okay.
Hashtag
facts. All right.
They're always stoned.
Now that you gave us that beautiful take, Aussie guy, G, why don't you give us one of your starts of the week other than marijuana for a.
I'm going to go with what we were talking about before with the quarterbacks between Cousins and Herbert. I got Justin Herbert down this week up against the Saints. Mate, the touchdown pass he threw last week he might as well have just run up and handed the ball. That was just one of the best passes I've seen this year, to be honest. To drop it in, what was it, like a 50, 55-yard pass, and just perfect. Up against the Saints, they've given up 20-plus points in all 4 weeks this year to quarterbacks, an average of 22.5. They've given up 11 TDs, which is the third most, equal third most in the league. Mate, Herbert has thrown for 23-plus points against the Bucs secondary, who I think is a little bit better than the Saints secondary at the moment. Granted, they had a few outs last week, but the only problem is Anthony Lynn's still saying that if Tyrod's healthy, he's going to start him. But I don't see how you can't step backwards now, can you? Really?
He just came out today and said that Herbert is going to be the starter. It was probably overnight for you, so
mate,
yeah.
Yeah, mate, this is Australia, mate. You know, like,
dude,
I'm still having to dial this in.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen any news, but we don't talk about defensive injuries too much. But if Lattimore and Jenkins are out again for the Saints, they were out last week. I mean, then that's just pouring it on. I mean, I think if we knew in advance that those two guys were out, I might even give the edge to Herbert over Cousins. I have Cousins at QB 11 right now. I have Herbert at 14. That would be a little bit of a bump too if we knew one or both those guys were out.
All right. Detroit BC, why don't you give us some of the loves? I know you took some notes there. Let's hear what you got. Let me hear one of your starts.
So you guys might rake me over the coals for this, but I'm inviting it. So I'm starting Joe Burrow this week, and it's super tough. Rookie, he's in Baltimore. On paper, it looks awful. For DFS purposes, I like to zig when others zag, but that's a conversation for another time. In terms of our seasonal teams, if you have a kid like Joe Burrow, you might be, what other options do you have given all these injuries that are going on? I don't know the makeup of your team, but if you look at what's going on here, it's not a slam dunk play by any means, but I like it because it's exciting. We can sit down, we can watch the game, and we can see what this kid is made of. So if you dig into the stats just real briefly, you'll see that Baltimore, they're only allowing like 6.26 yards per drop back. Anytime a quarterback drops back, said quarterback is only averaging about 6 yards per passing attempt. On the other hand, Joe Burrow is averaging over 9 yards per attempt when he passes the ball. So you're talking of a difference of 3 or 4 yards, three and change yards here. So something has to give here on Sunday, and I'm excited for it. And these are the kind of matchups that I look forward to as a fantasy, not as a fantasy analyst, but as a fantasy player. It isn't always slam dunk plays. We got to have some not caution, but have some fun, have some risk here. And I'm telling you, the risk is worth the wait with Joe Burrow. I have him projected at probably 29 to 30 completions. Let's call it an even 300 yards because he's done that three weeks in a row, couple touchdowns, and we finally see if this kid has the stones to make it in the league in Baltimore this weekend.
All right, so you starting Burrow or Goff?
I don't have Goff's matchup in front of me. If you want to shoot that out to me real quick while I look at
Washington, if my co-host was good to me,
then it's Goff all day. I actually own Goff in my big 14-team PPR IDP league, and I'm starting him. But
Washington, what about Big Ben? Start him over Big Ben?
Yes, I would. Yes.
All right. Okay. Just a quick little question on the sheet there. That's all I'd ask.
And again, that's just a gut reaction, and I've learned over the years to just trust that. Anybody on earth can sit in front of a computer with a notebook and write down numbers and stats till they're blue in the face. But you and me both, brother.
There we go.
But sometimes when we're gun to the head, when we're pressed upon, you go from the gut, and it winds up being okay.
I think one of the best takeaways too from what Chris said, I don't know, there's might be writing on Bob's page.
I don't think so.
So
cartoon.
The one thing I like about what Chris said is that this is an interesting matchup for sure. If you have Joe Burrow, is that when you started your week, when you're doing waivers and you saw at Baltimore on his schedule, you might have run automatically to go pick up a streaming option. Like if you picked up, Minshew this week's got at Houston, who's actually been fairly decent against QBs. You could be looking at Daniel Jones, who's been a train wreck, but as a dream matchup. Like, you could have been looking at one of these streaming options, and I think based off of that, you could take away that, okay, maybe I just start Burrow. I don't burn the extra roster spot on a streamer this week. So obviously, take that for what you need to with your roster construction. But I think that's a great call, and I'm really interested to this.
Let's say your advice, you didn't burn a roster spot. You have Joe Burrow. You start him. You get to watch every snap of the game, and the kid does well. Maybe 250 yards, a couple touchdowns. Cincinnati wins, and you're excited. You're going to be a Joe Burrow fan for a long time. That alone is worth the price of admission. Am I right?
There you go. There you go.
Outside of the fantasy, just from a football perspective of real football, I'm really enjoying watching Burrow and T. Higgins start to this connection starting to come together.
As a Boyd owner, I don't enjoy it, but go ahead.
T. Higgins,
it's RIP to AJ Green.
As those outside big guys, T. Higgins that came out in the draft this year is without doubt looking the sharpest out of all of them. Well, granted, we haven't seen memes yet, and
Pittman,
Pittman, with the injuries, but Pittman's on with the wrong quarterback. But there we go. So,
all right, we're gonna flip over to me. I'm gonna give you my stardom most blanket. It's not a full stardom all blanket like Kyle will throw out there because I'm not putting the tight end in there. But I'm gonna go with the whole Teddy Bridgewater, which has already been laid out pretty much by people. DJ Moore, I'm calling this his get right game. He better damn get right or I'm screwed. Robbie Anderson, you're riding that train for the last week or maybe two that you can, and this is definitely a good week to do it. I said Mike Davis there is what I was trying to say. And Robbie Anderson, he's number 18 on the season. I think he gets his second touchdown here on this weak damn defense, and he makes it happen. So I got him as a bottom wide receiver 1 on the week. So I'm just looking forward to them getting a lot of points and tearing up this Atlanta defense. So before anybody hating on those Carolina boys? No.
I saw Teddy Bridgewater's matchup a mile away, and he was the first entry in my notebook when I was building my bottom of the barrel article, the DFS article, and it's just a dream matchup. I have a second notebook here, just looking at it. He's in Carolina. They're dead last. They're ranked 32nd. There are no other teams. There's 32 teams. They're ranked dead last, and his price is just tremendous if you're talking DFS purposes. So Teddy Bridgewater was a nice waiver wire ad for you this week if you were able to acquire him.
And I was. All right, before we go into a couple sits, let's do a couple shout outs from those kind people watching and chiming in. Benjamin Holler says, busy day at work, G. Man, taking some flack. Jay Hartman, friend of the Fellas League, says, hey, fellas. And Christopher Corvera, would you pivot from the Bears defense tonight? You got to make that decision pretty damn quick here. Top defense on the waiver wires: Dallas, Texans, New Orleans, Chargers. Anybody there you want? I don't think Dallas was the answer, but continue.
No, stick. I'd stick with what you got. I mean, it's the best unit. Yep. Those other units are all very, very not good.
All right, one more question here before we slide into some sits. Steven Wasco says, anyone think Lynn should start on? Anyone think Lynn should be on the
hot seat?
Hot seat. Okay. If I saw it correctly, Lynn is 5-13 over the last 3 seasons in 1-score games.
No, I could probably name 4 or 5 other coaches who are should be on the hot seat, and they're god awful coaches. First guys here in Detroit: Matt Patricia, Dan Quinn, as you pointing to the Atlanta Falcons, Adam Gase. I mean, it's unbelievably silly how horrible some of these coaches are. Don't get me started on the Lions, because as you guys know, it's a 20-minute spiel.
No, we won't do that to you. But I guarantee they will not lose this week. All right, let's move on to Kyle. Kyle for his first sit of the week.
Are we doing sits?
I should have sent Detroit into it with them pissed off there.
All right, we doing a sit?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do a sit.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna go with a guy I was actually surprised to see. I know tight end is rough, and it's always difficult to sit one of these guys because Usually there might be only, there's only 10 or so that you even feel comfortable with. So if you have one of those guys, you're usually going to roll them. A guy that I've liked a lot, but just hasn't produced over the last couple of weeks, and I would probably look to get away from is Mike Gesicki. He has the toughest matchup for tight ends. San Francisco hasn't faced a ton of great ones, but they have shut down Evan Ingram and Zach Ertz over the last 2 weeks. They haven't given up more than 35 yards to a tight end so far this year, and Gesicki only has 2 catches over the last 2 weeks for 30 yards. Again, it's hard to find alternates on the wire, but if Dalton Schultz is still out there, I would go ahead and pivot to that if you have a roster spot, or even to drop Gesicki if you can potentially maybe pick him back up down the line. There's another tight end that I would definitely pivot to, but I don't want to steal somebody else's start. But if we don't get to it, I'll shout it out here at the end. But I would look to get away from Mike Gesicki this week for sure.
Okay. Slide over to I-80.
Hey, my sit for the week is someone who had a career game last week, and that is Odell Beckham Jr. from the Cleveland Browns. He's up against the Indianapolis Colts this week. He had an excellent week 4, topped off with a 73-yard touchdown run. I think he had 2 touchdowns in the air, but over the last couple seasons, he struggled to put together 2 games in a row. Colts are 9th against wide receivers. They have a much, much, much better defense. And his ownership is just going to be through the roof. You're paying for last week, and don't pay for last week. Pay for this week. Odell Beckham Jr., Cleveland Browns. I am out. He's just my sit.
Well, they're making a quarterback change this week, right?
Yeah.
Landry.
Fair enough.
Did you guys see the thing where? Did you guys see the thing where I didn't catch this, but apparently this came out like a while back, but it came back up after he threw that touchdown pass to Beckham, is that he throws a baseball right-handed, but he throws a football left-handed. Yeah. I was like, what the?
He can do whatever he wants, man.
There you go. Some Mahomes stuff right there, right? All right, G, what you got for a sit?
Okay, well, don't want to pick the obvious, but I'm going to put in Miles Sanders this week up against Pittsburgh. Now, you got to start him, obviously, because he's Miles Sanders, and there's no one else on the roster in Philly that you're probably going to start. But mate, this Pittsburgh D is serious. This is one series. Mate, they are stalking the prey each week. The Steelers have only allowed 121 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown. Add to the fact that Wentz is pretty much benchable almost as a quarterback. He has no confidence at all. Maybe if they had someone like Nick Foles, but then again, if you watched Nick Foles last week, you probably wouldn't start him either. But actually, Trubisky looks better than Nick Foles. That's how bad Foles looked last week. So he has no confidence. So with lack of receivers, the quarterback not playing well, you look for the ground game and what a Steelers going to do. They're going to stack the box, mate. He'll be doing more blocking on blitzes this week than he will be carrying the ball. So that's just look. We're going to start him obviously because running backs, good running backs like him, you're going to put in your lineup, but maybe just temper expectations a bit.
Okay, Detroit.
So I was hoping you'd go to me right after I-80 up top because my biggest.
I gotta keep things in order, man.
My biggest quarterback sit of the week is Baker Mayfield. As you know, Bob hit it right on the head. Indy's only allowing 9.5 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. That Indianapolis defense is legit. But pivoting off that real quick, if I may, I don't want anything to do with the Rams running backs. Akers looks to be back this weekend. He's going to get 6 or 7 carries. Malcolm Brown's going to get 7-8 carries, and then Henderson's going to get 10-11 carries. So they're all going to be vulturing from each other. People are looking at the matchup. It's Washington, and you think, oh, Washington's a great matchup. Their defensive line is outstanding. It's nothing but first-round picks. Yep. And these guys, if that entire team does one thing well, and one thing only, it's stop the run, kind of get to the quarterback, close the edges, and get to the ball carrier. So you have Akers, Brown, Henderson, all guys that I said they're going to get around 7 to 10 carries apiece. They're each going to get like 30, 40 yards. Each guy's going to average like 3.3 yards a carry. It's just going to be awful, and you're going to be left holding your hat. Again, it's like the card trick. Pick the card, any card. The shell game. That's what I was looking at. You don't know where to go. So guess what? I'm not playing at all. I'm stepping away. I don't want anything to do with the Rams running backs this weekend.
I saw Chase Young back at practice today too. So I mean, get the hell away from that situation.
I had a card that I made up about the line in Washington. So I went to find it for my cards, and then I realized I had a stack from this week. Yeah, those guys: Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, all first round picks.
Yeah, they do a lot better with their first round picks with the line than they do the quarterback. So whatever.
Hey, Bob from I-80, do me a huge favor. It'd be a huge solid. I know you big time.
Yeah.
Send me a screenshot of your Washington defensive line notes, because Monday morning I'm on a broadcast and I'm to talk about nothing but the Browns defensive line. So if you could do me a solid, send me your notes. That'd be fantastic.
I'll send you the card, man. I'll screenshot. It's actually only one index card. It's I know you're a little more in depth than that, but I'm a beginner. I kept it up here, but this doesn't work so well. So we're going with index cards now.
All right. For me, I'm gonna sit. Who am I gonna sit? Okay, I can't say that. That's not true. Well, listen.
Take your time. It's no big deal.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's not like we knew that you were coming up next or anything.
No, I have Lamar Jackson on my sheet. I'm not sitting him, but I'm definitely worried about him, and I'm cautious about him. I don't think I took another quarterback if I have Lamar Jackson, because I spent a second, third round pick for him. So if I'm in a one quarterback league, I probably don't have another quarterback on my roster. Did I maybe go grab someone off the waiver wire? But if the injury reports and they're worried about it and they're limiting him and he's going to be hobbled, I think it's a great opportunity for some other guys on his team that I'll save for the next round if we make it back around. But yeah, that's not the point of this. Carson Wentz in Pittsburgh, I have him probably buried. I think maybe everyone does, but I don't think as much as I do. Carson Wentz, I'll never play him again on my team. Oh no, I'm about the same as ever. 21. I just don't want to start the guy. I know people will love him, but he's falling apart. He's done on my rosters. Stay off, stay home, prove something, and then call me.
Mate, if you're playing 2 QB leagues or super flex leagues and trying to start new quarterbacks, you just, mate, you're struggling this week. I'm looking in some of my teams just to start one quarterback and play another skill position over a quarterback.
I mean, I have it 21. I'll start him there, but Phillip Rivers is behind him. Derek Carr is behind him. Jimmy Garoppolo, assuming he plays, is behind him. Nick Foles. That's the people I'm starting him over. And is there any good names there?
You're looking.
Yeah. I was going to say, like Nick Foles is just like, my God, you watch the game, and mate, I was just saying, just put Trubisky back in. He ended up scoring the touchdown, which was thanks to the fact that Indy was just saying, well, you can move the ball down the field, we'll just burn time off the clock.
Sure.
And if it wasn't for the catch, that was a great catch from Allen Robinson in the end zone. He's just, you actually feel that if Trubisky was on the field, you have more chance to actually score. He's going to throw interceptions, but you also have more chance to move the ball down the field.
Yeah.
And he's got great receivers, like his receivers. Mooney. Yeah, Mooney.
Yep.
He's Darnell Mooney. He's looking the goods.
What do you guys think about this? What do you think about this? Because I for my team, I needed a guy that I could play or at least kind of plug and play in right now. So I accepted it right away. And then when the guy who made me the offer did a victory lap in the league checks, he's like, man, it was the fastest accept ever, right? So he said, it was Mooney. I traded away Darnell Mooney and a second. My second will probably be mid to late for N'Keal Harry, and I gave up the second will be early. So I gave up. I did it backwards. I did Mooney and a first for N'Keal Harry and a second. What do you guys think about that?
I'll take Harry.
All right, good. Because I smashed accepted that, and he was all pumped about it.
1,000%.
I'm like, Harry's 20. He's going to be 23 in December. I'm going to give him more time. He's only in his second year, but
Cam Newton loves big-bodied receivers.
That's
right.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully, I can play him right now.
I like the look of Darnell Mooney, and he would have far better numbers last week if Nick Foles could actually hit a target.
He's playing a lot, so I totally get if he's available, stash him. Place.
He's the second most targeted guy on the team.
Go get him.
So on this round, let's go ahead and do your choice of a sit or a start, since it will probably be the last round. We might have time for another, but why don't you give it a sit or start, whatever you want to talk about the most. Kyle?
I'll actually pair two guys together because they're kind of in a similar range. Darius Slayton, He's my wide receiver 20. He's consensus just outside the top 24. And my other start is still Tyler Boyd. We've talked a lot about the Bengals on the show. It looks like a tougher matchup against Baltimore, but Baltimore has given up 12 or more points to 4 wide receivers on the year. So I'm still starting Boyd as my wide receiver 17. And again, with Slayton, he's kind of right in that same range, but he gets the dream matchup. And this is it. As much as I dogged on Golden Tate earlier, like Slayton has shown his flashes. Dallas gives up the second most fantasy points to wide receivers, and that includes 4 100-yard games to wide receivers and 9 total touchdowns. So Slayton and Boyd, man, those guys are, definitely should be in your lineup this week.
Well, what is it Tyler Boyd like? And maybe put in Tyler Boyd like it's not as an afterthought, but it's like I'll start Boyd this week. Man, you should be starting him every week. Like seriously, has he not earned that now?
The torch has been passed. He's Cincinnati's wide receiver 1, and Bob's wearing an Ocho Cinco jersey, so I'm sure he's got.
It could be T. Higgins.
Oh, look, it's going to be T. Higgins eventually, but mate, Boyd just so reliant. His floor is the first floor. If you know what I mean. If you're in a house.
Joe Burrow loves slot receivers. Justin Jefferson, remember him from college? He was a slot receiver. Boyd is even better than Justin Jefferson. He's playing that role, one of the best wide receivers, slot receivers in the league. So, yeah.
And Boyd had a touchdown last week called back on a holding penalty that, so, I mean, he's definitely there. If you can buy him and people think he's a low-end 2 or flex, like, for me, he's a solid 2. Get him.
It catches everything.
Yeah, he's a beast.
There you go. Darren Gray says Mooney's killing Miller, and I think the all-day comment was for Boyd, or either or, probably is still accurate. And then Chris Correra says, would you try to trade Lamar Jackson for RB1 value and try to stream quarterbacks rest of the season? 8-team league, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
I was going to say yes, and I saw 8-team league, and I'm like, yes. 8-team league, so there's lots of quarterbacks on waivers. Yeah, I think that's all day. If you can sell him, especially he's got the name value, sell him quick before this game, like before Sunday. Sell him.
Yesterday, do it yesterday.
We can do it yesterday, Bob. Not
Do
good,
it.
Bob.
Make it happen.
All right, Bob, over to you for a sit or a start, sir.
Okay, my original first start was Damian Harris. I'm just gonna say start him. It's not a fun index card. There's not a lot of good stuff on there, but I have a really good index card here, and that is Eric Ebron, tight end from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There it was.
He's facing the Eagles. Let me read off the first 4 weeks of Eagles tight ends. Week 1, Logan Thomas, 4 of 8 targets, 37 yards and a touchdown. Week 2, Tyler Higbee, 5 of 5 for 55 and 3 touchdowns. Week 3, Drew Sample and Kathan Carter, both 1 of 1 for 1 yard each and 1 touchdown each. Week 4, George Kittle wasn't even fair. 15 of 15, 183 and 1 touchdown. That is what the defense that Eric Ebron is going into. Eagles linebackers are abysmal. Ebron is 9 of 14 for 113 yards and a touchdown so far, but most of that is in his last game. If you've seen his target share, it's gone up it's almost doubled every single week since then. Of course, we didn't get to see what he did last week, but this is a great spot to fill in. If you're missing Jonnu or one of those guys, you need a tight end to plug and play. Eric Ebron, take him. You won't be disappointed. That's the word.
That's the Gesicki pivot for sure. Ebron 43% owned in Yahoo leagues. I own Gesicki in a bunch of leagues, and where I could, I flipped that. I dropped Gesicki for Ebron just to make sure I felt really good about my tight end matchup this week. So that's the pivot.
So what we're saying is Philly is the new Arizona for this year. Is that what we're saying? So, I mean, it sounds sarcastic. It really isn't meant to be. Hopefully this week stands true, and then you know who to target on waivers each week, or to snipe the week before when you read Kyle's waiver wire sniping article.
If he does it this week, for sure, but you have to say it was Kittle and who else was on? Oh, Higbee. So we're going to get that information this week, but giving up 2 to guys that most people didn't know their name on the Bengals.
Well, I mean, 2 to but Higbee. I mean, how many other good weeks has he had?
Yes, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying.
Philly and New Orleans have kind of come out as early highlights for your tight end streamers out there. So take a look at those matchups.
All right, G, sit or start, your call.
Mate, can you have the same guy on sit and start? Is that possible? Has that been done before?
On your own
Yeah,
list?
that's what I just did with Lamar Jackson, kind of.
Yeah, mate, this is frustrating because I wrote down Mo Alley Cox up against Cleveland this week because if you're struggling on tight ends and you need someone, well, the chances are that he might only get one catch and score you one touchdown, but you might get 8 points out of it, and for tight ends, slow it down.
One.
That's great. But then you got to throw in that you don't want to start him because Trey Burton comes back and all of a sudden he's had, he's been out there for 17 routes run and Doyle's out there for 13 and Mo Cuts only gets 7. And yet for some reason you get the feeling every week that when the ball gets inside the 20, the person that Rivers is looking at is Mo Alley Cox. And he would have had another touchdown last week if the ball was thrown, 3 inches, he would have ended up with 2. But then you don't want to play him for the same reasons. He's not getting the looks enough. Like in between the 20s, he's invisible basically. And also he's going to put down also for his sits. Can you put like whole teams in there?
Can you put Adam Gase in there?
Bury him.
I was just going to say for your sits as well. Can you just put the whole of the Las Vegas and all the wide receivers of the Jets except for Crowder? So the whole group.
So are you saying sit Josh Jacobs?
Oh,
You said all. You said all.
No, I said wide receivers. I mean wide receivers.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay, that's fair.
Receiving
That's
corps.
fair.
for sure.
Okay. Just wanted to ask. I just
Oh,
want to
and-
clarify.
And the whole Jets offense. All except Crowder.
Fair enough.
Everybody.
And,
every
and
skill
except
position.
Flacco. He's
Well, I
great.
wrote down Crowder as a start for me, and then I didn't mention
That's the
him
only one.
because I'm
That's
like,
the only
I don't
one.
know. If it's the same scenario that we had with Terry McLaurin. Like, do I trust the quarterback scenario to be fine? It should be. It could be,
It
but it
didn't
might
get
not
worse. It didn't get worse.
be. Right?
That's painful, but you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I treat Crowder kind of like McLaurin light a little bit, I guess, from that perspective. Like I think he's good enough that you probably still flex him, especially at PPR. But yeah,
He becomes a bit of a whipping boy, doesn't he, Crowder? For wide receiver owners, it's like, I got to play Crowder this week. It's
yeah,
the dude puts up numbers every time he plays.
yep, for sure.
Okay.
Last week was crazy. Coming back off that injury, man. I wish I would have called that.
Well, that's the problem with Crowder, isn't it? Is that you put him in, you have him on your roster, and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to get 1 week out of him, and then he's going to miss 3. And I think that's why people are down on him. Not because he can't play football. It's just you got to be on the park to play the game.
All right, BC, you're tapping on your mic there. You're like, give me a shot, put me in, coach. What do
I
you
was
got?
turning up the volume. Real quick, I want to say I have a friend in Indianapolis who he does he takes pictures for sports cards and stuff. So he's able to go to practices and games.
That's awesome.
And he says the last week to 10 days, Mo Alley Cox has been ridiculously on fire in practice, just dogging people in practice. So I hear what you're saying. If they would give the kid more chances, he'd be an automatic start for me every week, just from what we've seen and the little inside information I've been getting. I mean, we're talking like going up above guys and just dogging them out for the football. But back to my starter set. I got 2 guys from the same game.
Go for it.
CeeDee Lamb, Dallas Cowboys. He is by far and away their new wide receiver too, and I don't even really find it close. Back-to-back games with touchdowns, I believe. I know he scored last week. I don't know about week 3, so let's just say he did, right? He's going against the Giants, who have looked god-awful. The Giants have given up 7 touchdowns to I will just say in the air, so opposing wide receivers and tight ends. So CeeDee Lamb will find the end zone again, 6 receptions, 75, 80 yards or something like that. And Dallas is going to absolutely wail on the Giants in Jerry world. So for that fact alone, I love the Giants starting tight end Evan Ingram this week. You could kind of see that Daniel, as Kyle said in the beginning of the broadcast, Daniel Jones has been just a nightmare, but he has looked Evan Ingram's way somewhat. It's like Evan Ingram has been his safety blanket. He got 10 targets last week, if I may say, though. In Dallas, they're averaging about 6.5, 65 yards giving up to opposing tight ends. So if the Giants get down at all, which is going to happen quick, Evan Ingram is an awesome play for me and anybody else this weekend. 2 guys real quick. Don't want to waste my notes. Sit Mark Ingram, sit Myles Gaskins. If you want to know the rest.
Sit Mark Ingram, even with you just froze. There you go. You're moving. Even with Lamar Jackson hobbled. Because here's the real thing. If he really is injured, hobbled, whatever, I feel like they're gonna give him the ball, let the actual running backs do more actual work than Lamar. Because I'm not letting Lamar get hurt if I don't need to.
Start up the Gus bus.
Well, here's the
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I guess
Here's
so.
the thing with that. Kind of the same thing.
That's
I
only
said
when they're
for the
leading
Rams.
though.
You got 3 competent backs for LA and Malcolm and Henderson and Akers coming back. For some odd reason, Gus Edwards is getting a ton of looks. They're all taking away from each other. Heading into the season, we thought there was a clear pecking order. It was Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins was the heir apparent. They're going to work him in, and somewhere down the line this season, J.K. Dobbins was going to be their feature back. Well, here comes Gus Edwards. So let's say Lamar is hobbled and they want to get away from him. They're just going to give all 3 guys carries, and you don't know. Again, the shell game. We're playing the shell game, boys.
Yeah,
It
well,
could be,
Gus,
but if you
Gus
take the-
started last week.
Gus is a decent
He got
running
the
back.
first.
Really
he got
is.
the first carries last week. So you know, and I just want to
what
say
the
to
hell?
Chris, that you talking about Morley cuts and dogging. Dogging in Australia means something completely different.
I'd love
No, it
I'd
kind of
love
means
to
some
know
of the
what it
same
is.
things here too. Sometimes
It's
it's more of a style here, though. It's definitely more of a style.
Well,
Man.
any way you slice it, Mo Ellie Cox was doggying
Cox was dogging. Wow,
The-
we've gone there.
the opposing.
Good way to spread
Cornerback.
COVID.
Oh,
Just check it. Just check it.
Okay, so since
Good.
he wanted to talk about Dallas and New York Giants, I'm going to throw in a start of the week for me, my last guy, and that's Dalton Schultz. I have him as my tight end 6. And that might be a little higher than most people, but he's getting the work done, and I think he's gonna have a good game against them. I don't see him not having a good game. I will start him above Zach Ertz, who I've not been loving all season. I know he's the only guy still standing there. I'll start him above Gesicki. I'll start him above Mark Ingram by a little, above Tyler Higbee, above Hayden Hurst. I'll take Dalton Schultz over all those guys. That's who I have behind him, the next 5 people behind him.
The
Where do you have him
Giants
with
been
Austin
stingy.
Hooper?
Hooper?
Yeah.
Hooper.
Because I got him on
13.
this week. Yeah, I got Hooper's, mate, against the Colts this week. They've only allowed 71 yards in total and 0 TDs to tight ends. Mate, they're giving up 4.5 fantasy points per week. And I don't know, that must be in 2-point reception tight end premium leagues. Because I don't see where 4.5 comes out of 71 yards and no TDs, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there
Don't
you go.
get tricked by that Hooper touchdown last week. He's still
Nah.
buried out back.
So
Take
Kyle,
the
you're
Cowboys.
not digging Schultz like I am. Why not?
Because I don't think the Cowboys are going to have to throw it 57 times this week. I think that they'll have to throw the ball, a decent amount. Dak will still be up there, but I think Schultz has definitely benefited from the fact that this defense is just god awful. And
36
while
points a game they're giving
it's
up.
disgusting right now, it's a joke. But I mean, I don't trust the Giants right now to even put up enough where Dak really has to be chucking it. And Schultz is by far, to me, still the 5th option in that passing game. So
All right.
I need it to be.
Amari
I need
Cooper
the
up at 4th. You got CeeDee Lamb at 18.
Zeke
You're looking for a
Elliott
big game
catches
with these
passes.
guys.
Yeah, Schultz is a clear 5th for me in that
Yeah.
passing game. So I'd still start him. Like, I like him this week.
Yeah.
He's in my top 12, but he's at I think he's at 11. So I mean, yeah.
Still worth starting. All right. We got like another minute and a half here. Let's answer a question before we sign off. Look at this. Look at us keeping on schedule. Gonna watch some Friday night. Nope. Thursday night
Thursday.
football.
It's only
Wow.
Thursday, buddy.
Yep. I'm ready for this week to be over. It's been a hell week, and I'll just leave it at that. So let's go with Christopher. I can't say his last name. He says, I figured I was just I still can't say it. I figured I was just waiting to see if the passing yards and passing touchdowns would come for Jackson. Because he's stuck not running.
Trade him.
Yeah, I have him
Waiting
for
a
about
running back one.
210, 220 passing yards this week, about 50, maybe 60 yards on the ground, which is sweet for a quarterback, but 2 total touchdowns. So he's not the
It's not a
slam dunk
fantastic
MVP play of the week.
Is he still? Does he struggle with touch passing? Because it seems to me that everything's a bullet, everything's flat. Which makes it hard for some of his receivers to go up and get the ball. Like he doesn't throw a ball that allows them to go up.
I was worried a little bit about him in the offseason, thinking that he was going to be figured out because his game is very much one of those that, you see guys like, Cam Newton destroys the world one season. Guys kind of figure him out. It doesn't mean he's not good. It just means he's going to come back down to earth. That was always in his in this season for him. That's the same guy I think who was asking about the trade. If you can get a running back one for him, slam that trade. Yes.
And what's going to happen. He's going to come out and just bawl like a mother.
Oh, he's going to make me look like an idiot next week. Of course he is.
So I enjoy doing these shows, but I also enjoy listening to some other podcasts and in big ones, right? And you listen to sit, start, you listen to everything, and it's like, okay, you got that one right, and you got these 5 wrong. You got these 2 right, those 2 wrong. It's like, you know what? We're going to do the best we can to give you the best information. You do with it what you can and have a good week. So let's go around the room and sign off one last time. Kyle, go first.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at KyleFF. Fellas, stay subscribed to the SmackDown podcast. Been doing those quick waiver wire shows, trying to keep it to 15, 20 minutes tops to get your day started on Tuesday. And check out Waiver Wire Sniping every Saturday for the ads that you need to make to utilize that last bench spot to get ahead of the rest of the waivers the week ahead. So definitely check that out every Saturday.
I.A.D., why don't you pimp the network there?
At I80_sports. We're covering NFL, fantasy football, college football. Actually recording, I think, in about 5 minutes for that. And we're doing NHL. Guys stayed up the whole 5 hours in the NHL draft on Tuesday. Great stuff there. And MLS, we actually got press passes now, so we're in live at every Red Bull game talking about soccer, MLS soccer. So join us, I80sports.com, youtube.com/I80sports.
All right. G.
Follow us on Aussie Guys NFL. We'll be on tonight if anybody wants to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Kyle, yeah, for it?
Yes.
We'll be going live tonight.
6 a.m. Central.
we do a little bit different. But if you, as Bob said, if some weeks you get the one right and 5 wrong, if you want to do that average, listen to us. We'll put you there every week. But we're just doing things a little bit different on our pod. Instead of start and sits, we're putting together teams each week, and everybody can put in their teams. We're keeping scores. Each week's like a different variable. But yeah, we're just trying to do something a little bit different because there's so many great analysts like you blokes, and we can't compete with that. So we're just looking for the Mara Pars, So
yeah. All right, over to you, Beastie.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Detroit Beastie. My biggest claim to fame to date is my DFS article for Football Week to Week. It's called Bottom of the Barrel. It's out now. It's pinned to my profile. I got a new gig calling into a radio show, but only leaving a 60-second voicemail of my start sits of the week. I can't think of anything that's easier than that. Kyle prompted that with his quick waiver wire shows. The quicker the better, right? When it comes to this
That's
kind
what
of
she
stuff.
said.
Yeah, I knew you couldn't help yourself by saying that. But
Child over here.
come
Chris
follow
has made
me.
it. He's gone mainstream.
Come follow me
Radio.
at Detroit Beastie. Rankings will be live tomorrow, and that's about it. It's something new every day, isn't it, guys? Love it. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Don't bury the lead, Bob, because I don't know if you mentioned the other thing.
I didn't, and it's in my show notes that I didn't use because that's how I roll sometimes.
All
right, so I can be found on Twitter at Bob's Three Toed, on YouTube Bob's Three Toed Warriors, and go subscribe right now to Bob's Three Toed Warriors because on Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Time here in America, we will be doing a Hot One style wing challenge, burning our faces off, entertaining you people while asking some fantasy football questions, maybe answering some questions, and doing a live stream show that'll it should be quite entertaining. And we've got everything from kitchen basic restaurant hot sauce all the way up to the 2 million Scoville. It's going to be painful on Sunday. That's why we're doing it Saturday, so we can just take our laptops, plug them in right there on the counter in the bathroom, and stay there all day.
I thought you were going to say you were going to be giving away like kitchen appliances and hot maintenance, kitchen maintenance.
No. I'm gonna need bathroom maintenance after the show. All right, that's it for this show. Make sure you stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed putting it out there. I want to thank all the guests for coming on. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it much. And Bob's Three Toed Warriors, Kyle, FF Fellas saying, hit the waiver wire, set your lineups, watch those COVID updates, dominate your opponents. Until next time, see ya. Gonna be a rough Sunday. Gonna be rough.